Hi everyone, today I'm going to be sharing a few of my study tips that have helped me so far here in Podiatric Medical School. So tip number 1 is to use Anki. So Anki is a downloadable app for your computer, and it also comes in mobile version for your phone and iPad. So the app you can sync across all devices, and basically it's flashcards that you can hand make, or you can also download pre-made decks made by other people. Anki for me is really great because it helps me with spaced repetition, and I also think making my own flashcards really helps give me a third pass for the material. Not only does Anki give me a third pass, but because it is spaced repetition and I do it every day, I get several passes in before I take my exams. Another tip for Anki when I make my flashcards is that I write the flashcards in question form so that it also engages my active recall, because active recall is really important in medical school. It helps with memorization as well as forces you to recall the information in a question form, and it makes it a little bit more fun rather than just straight memorization.
So here's an example of how I make Anki. I usually do split screen with the lecture on one side and how to make the Anki on the other side, and I just do a simple front and back flashcard. And so here you can see I use the question form, and then down below I have the answer, and then below the dotted line I have additional information as well as the slide that the information comes from. So here's an example of how I organize my Anki into folders, as well as me going through my Anki flashcards. It's great for didactic material as well as the anatomy lab practicals.
Study tip number 2. Practice questions. So lots of the professors here at WesternU provide practice questions within their PowerPoint, and we also use an app called Top Hat, which also has additional practice questions for us. Practice questions for me are really great because I get to practice and test what I know. Practice questions help me gauge how I will do on the quiz, as well as get a feel for what the quiz questions could look like for the exam. Practice questions are also great because they play into that role of active recall that I mentioned earlier in study tip 1.
So here are examples of the practice questions that our professors give to us. I like to take these practice questions and make a new folder and condense all the practice questions from the PowerPoint so that I can go through all of them right before the exam. And at the end, here is the Top Hat app that we use for workshops and additional practice questions.
The third study tip. So my third study tip is to make summary sheets of the content throughout the week. So each week I like to make a summary sheet of the content that we learned. Summary sheets are a great way to organize the material, and they also help me focus on the details that I need to know versus some of the extra stuff that they include in the PowerPoints. For me, making summary sheets are a great way to condense the material into a more digestible form. I like having the handheld summary sheets to review right before the quiz because it's a physical copy and it's less cumbersome than going through all the PowerPoints at the end of the week. Summary sheets are also a great reference for when I'm studying for a final and don't want to go through all of the PowerPoints. I can just go look at my summary sheet for reference and find the material that I need.
So here's an example of some of the summary sheets that I make. As you can see, I like to incorporate diagrams from the lectures, and I also like to make charts of the material as well. And we usually have about 10 to 15 lectures a week depending on the block, and it's easy for me to review the material when I condense it into just a few pages.
Additional study tips that I recommend is getting at least 3 passes of the material or more. I also recommend talking the material out loud to either yourself or your classmates through Zoom. And my final advice is to always keep an open mind to different study techniques and always keep trying different ones to see which works best for you. Each person has their own study methods, and what may work for one person may not work for you, so don't feel bad for trying out new things and changing it up as you go. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope some of these study tips helped you as it helped me throughout my first year so far, and I will keep you updated on more study tips along the way, and feel free to reach out and leave any comments or questions down below.